Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Loki possesses the false fruit of Nika, the sun god, and we know that because Luffy has the real one. But hold on, because today we're going to reveal the fruit Loki actually has, and it's connected to something even bigger than the son of Luffy's fruit. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, open your eyes and ears wide, because today the channel is going to light the biggest theory bonfire Elbaf has ever seen. Revealed, Loki's fake sun god fruit. Yes, fake. The giant prince who calls himself the sun god, the one Shanks chained up with special restraints and tossed into a dungeon where not even a tiny ray of light gets in, does not have the real Hito no Mi model Nika. He has something else. Something that imitates the sun, that shines, that burns. But deep down, it's just reflection, a broken mirror, borrowed light. And I'm going to prove it with everything the manga has shown up to the hottest chapter of 2025. First, undeniable fact. Loki appeared chained, blindfolded, his whole body covered in sea stone seals. And even so, he released a heat wave strong enough to melt half the cell. The giant guard literally said, if even a thread of sunlight touches him, all of Elbaf turns to ash. That's not Nika's power. Luffy's Nika shines, warms, liberates, but it's never been described as a nuclear furnace that needs external fuel. Luffy's power is internal. It comes from his own imagination. Loki's power needs outside light. That's clue number one. He's a mirror, not the lamp. Second clue, the name he chose, Sun God. Not God of freedom, not God of dawn, not God of rubber. Just Sun God. Sounds like giant pride, but it also sounds like someone trying to fill a void he knows isn't his. It's the same thing Enel did in Scipia, declaring himself a god because he had lightning, but deep down knowing it was just a strong fruit. Loki is doing the same thing, but with fire and light. Third clue, Shanks. The red-haired one didn't imprison Loki for an ordinary crime. He used special chains, had a windowless cell built in the deepest point of Elbaf, and even left guards with a clear order. Not a single spark of sunlight. If Loki had the true Nika fruit, Shanks would know that blocking light is useless, because Nika's light comes from within, not from outside. Shanks saw Luffy awaken in Wano. He felt that heat that needs no star in the sky. So why the fear of external light? Because Loki's power is parasitic. It steals, reflects, and amplifies real sunlight. Now let's go to the fruit candidates that fit this puzzle perfectly. Candidate number one, Pika no Mi, Kizaru's light fruit. Sounds too obvious, but wait! Kizaru turns his body into light, moves at light speed, kicks lasers, but he never needed ambient light. He generates his own. So why does Loki need it? Because it's not the pure Pika, it's a variation or a zoon that imitates the Pika but uses the sun as a battery. Candidate number two, and my favorite, Hito no Mi model. Some kind of false solar deity. Could be Apollo, Huitzilopochtli, a corrupted Amaterasu, or even an original model Oda kept up his sleeve. The point is, a mythological zoon that grants sun dominion, but with a fatal weakness. Without direct sunlight, the user weakens or even enters a hibernation-like state. Exactly the opposite of Nika, who shines brighter the freer the user is. Candidate number three, a special Paramasha, say Kagami no Mi, mirror fruit, or Tayo no Mi, sun fruit, that lets the user absorb, store, and release sunlight as heat and explosions. The more sunlight he gets, the stronger he becomes. That's why he calls himself the sun god. He literally becomes a walking sun after a day of soaking up light. But take the sun away and he's just a giant. Dangerous, but not divine. And here's the craziest part. Loki knows he's fake. He knows the real sun god is out there, sailing with a ridiculous straw hat on his head. That's why he has mortal hatred toward humans, toward Shanks, toward the whole world. He wants to prove his son is the real one, that his heat deserves worship. Locking him in the dark was the ultimate humiliation. It showed all of Elbaf that their emperor was just a mirror waiting for a reflection. And Shanks, the red-haired one, knew all of this. Maybe since the first time he visited Elbaf decades ago. Maybe it was because of this fruit that Roger never took Loki on the final voyage, because he already knew the power was unstable, dangerous, fake. Shanks inherited the mission of keeping the mad giant away from the light until the real Nika appeared. First, the parallel everyone has already made in their heads but never said out loud. Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins. Same setup. By day, the guy is an absolute monster who turns mountains to dust with a light-charged axe. By night, he's a twig who can barely lift a mug. Loki is the one One Piece version of Escanor, only worse. At least Escanor generated his own heat at high noon. Loki needs the real sun in the sky. Otherwise, he's just a big giant with an even bigger ego. Oda clearly looked at the solar warrior who depends on the sun's position archetype and put it into his manga, but with the cruel twist of letting the real Nika be an internal sun, 24 hours a day. Another perfect parallel. Apollo from Saint Seiya, the sun god who uses his own body as a light source, but if he goes too long without his solar chariot, he becomes almost human. Loki is that, an Apollo who lost his chariot and now depends on someone else's sun. There's also Ra from Yu-Gi-Oh!, who becomes a giant sphere in solar disk mode, but needs light tribute to maintain the form. The pattern is always the same. Fake solar power, external dependency. True solar power, Utour's total autonomy. Luffy is the only one who breaks the rule, just like the original Joy Boy. Now imagine the scene in Elba. The Sunny arrives, party going, giants drunk, meat flying everywhere. Suddenly the ground shakes. Someone, probably Road or Dorian Brogy, drunk with Shanks nostalgia, accidentally breaks the seal on the prison. The cell opens, Loki steps out squinting, and the first thing he sees is the open sky, the midday sun shining straight on his face. In seconds, his body starts glowing, his hair turns into living flames, the chains melt like butter, and he lets out a scream that makes the sea boil for miles. I am the true sun god. Then he looks down and sees Luffy eating meat calmly, straw hat on his head, smiling like nothing is happening. Loki goes berserk. You, the fake, who steals my title, and he attacks. The first move is a concentrated spear of light that cuts across half the island. Luffy dodges in gear 5th, laughing, "Hot! Hot! You trying to roast me for dinner?" The fight begins and turns into a practical lesson on who the real sun is. Loki at the peak of midday is terrifying. He creates light clones, fires beams that melt sea stone, and heats the air so much that Zoro complains his sword is getting soft. For a few minutes, it looks like Luffy might actually have real trouble, but then the sun starts lowering on the horizon. Loki feels it. His shine flickers. He screams at the sky, "No, not yet!" and tries to absorb more light, desperate. Meanwhile, Luffy keeps going at the same pace, smiling, bouncing around, turning the ground into rubber, because his heat doesn't depend on business hours. When the sun finally sets, Loki falls to his knees. His body returns to the normal size of a giant. His hair goes dark. His eyes lose the golden glow. He looks at Luffy, who is still glowing softly in the dark because Nika doesn't need a star, and everything becomes clear. The rubber kid didn't steal his title. The title was never his to begin with. Then comes the most One Piece moment possible. Luffy reaches out his hand and says, "Hey, big guy, being the sun is cool, but being free is better. Wanna eat some meat with us? The night's just getting started." Loki, who spent his whole life believing he needed the sun to be someone, will look at the now dark sky and finally see that the real sun is standing right in front of him, shining without needing anything except a goofy smile. He won't become an ally right away. Giants have pride, but he'll vanish into Elbaf's sacred forest to think about his life. But the seed is planted, and when the final war comes, when Imu or whoever is at the top tries to extinguish the true sun, Loki will show up out of nowhere, having learned how to generate a little of his own light, and he'll shout, "Today I don't need your sun, world. I brought my own." And he'll fight beside Luffy, not as a copy, but as someone who finally understood the difference between shining by reflection and shining by freedom. That's it. Loki's false sun isn't a flaw, it's a mirror. And a mirror exists to show the truth. The real sun god never needed the sky's permission to be born. He was simply born inside a kid who never stopped smiling. What do you think about this? Does Loki really have a sun-related power? I'm sure he does. What about you? Leave your thoughts. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.